The PGA Tour, well, we've got 2 weeks remaining. I'm Keith Stewart from Read the Line. Alongside me, of course, is Len Hochberg, senior golf writer over at RotoWire. Well, it's time for the rundown, Len. And last week, we had a ton of Tiger Woods content because the PGA Tour used his first design for their Worldwide Technologies Championship. Unfortunately for the tour, all of the Tiger content was him walking with his son caddying for him. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think Tiger, you think the leg is good? Do you think we're going to start to see him some in December? Give it to me.
Anytime we can talk Tiger Woods and think about Tiger Woods coming back, I'm all for it. It's great. It's great for the game. Why not? His course was a little bit of a surprise. What was the winning score? 27 under. So what would Tiger have shot on that course? 50 under? Oh my gosh. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, everybody's wondering, are we going to see him in the Hero World Challenge next month? Are we going to see him play with son Charlie in the parent-child tournament next month? I mean, that seems pretty much a given, and that'll be fine and all that. But, I know some people lose their whatever just to get any visible whatever of Tiger Woods. But for me, until it's Torrey Pines or Riviera, it just doesn't count for me. I hope to see Tiger then.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was on site at Riviera last year, and the buzz there was unbelievable. And that was pretty much his entire year. But it seems like December has become Tiger month. With all due respect to his birthday and everything, remember it was 2 years ago that he was practicing during the Hero on the range, and the internet it basically exploded. And then last year he was going to play the Hero, but they pulled out with plantar fasciitis. There you go. Try that one 3 times fast.
And I'm not going to try.
And then he played on the 10th in that match with Rory, JT, and Jordan. Of course, was in a cart. And then the PNC with the parent-child. So that was December of 22. And then now this year, we've got an open spot at the Hero. Most likely, we just saw him last weekend with Charlie. Charlie's warming up for the parent-child. It looks like Tiger is too, with the way he was walking. And 7 weeks from today, way before Torrey or Riviera, is the TGL. And you got to figure, for Tiger's Arena League, he's going to play that first Tuesday, January 9th. So I don't know. I think we're going to get a lot of Tiger content over the next 6 or 7 weeks. And you know what? For a tour or for a game that hasn't had in multiple years, I'm all for it. Now, speaking of the tour, we got 2 weeks to go. This week, it's the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. We're going from Cabo San Lucas all the way on the West Coast to off the coast of North Carolina. This is an event been around for 4 years. We've seen this golf course a bunch. PGA Grand Slam of golf from 2009 to 2014. As you did your write-ups this week for RotoWire, what skill sets are you favoring over there at Port Royal Golf Course?
Yeah, it's one of the shortest golf courses we will see. It's roughly 6,800 yards. You can almost not even have to carry driver in your bag. I'm sure they will, maybe one or two here or there, but it's a very short course. There's a lot of dog legs. It really helps the guys, the shorter hitters. It brings them back into the mix where sometimes they are just outdistanced and can't really compete. There are a lot of dog legs. There are a lot of short par fours. So really what I've seen is that nothing off the tee really matters. Yeah, if you hit it into the water, yeah, not good. But other than that, if you don't have length, if you don't have accuracy, it's not going to kill you. It's really from the second shot on in. So really focusing on iron play and putting. Last year when Seamus Power came back and won, you look at the top of the leaderboard filled with the top putters in the field or the top putters that week. And lastly, the par 4 350 to 400 yard efficiency status critical for me this week. There are 6 holes that fit into 350 to 400 and 2 others just over 400. Basically, almost half the golf course, short par 4s.
I tell you what, you stole my thunder there. But before I get to that stat, let's go over the weather real quick. Thursday and Friday, they look pretty good out there on the island in the mid-ocean. But Saturday, the wind is going to be kicking up. And if the forecast remains the same, Saturday into Sunday could get a little bit sketchy. You remember when Lucas Herbert won it in 2021? He was the one that survived that Sunday massacre from the wind. And, I think it's going to be one of those situations again. Now, you already brought it up. 8 of the par fours are under 415 yards. That's a wedge fest. You've got 3 more par fives that are all reachable, but the guys, if they don't hit the green, they'll be right around using more wedges. The wedges are going to dominate the game this week. You got to be sharp. You got to be accurate with those. You're going to have a wedge approach on more than half the holes. And the other ones, you're going to be using a tee shot on those long par threes. So for me, I'm with you on the approach game. And you look at those 4 champions, Brian Gay, Brendan Todd, Lucas Herbert, and Seamus Power, all really good putters. And they're all really good on Bermuda grass, which I'll hold on to that thought for a second when we get to your DFS picks. But for now, I'm watching the weather, I'm watching the wedges, and I'm only picking putters who excel on Bermuda grass. Now, speaking of picks, let's get right into your DFS selections for the week. Hit all the tiers for everybody. Give us some names, Len.
Well, we'll take it from the DraftKings perspective. We'll start at the top in the 10,000s. And the aforementioned Brendan Todd. It's a guy I like a lot. Our pal Jason Sobel always says to me, you love yourself some Brendan Todd. Well, I do. On shorter courses, and if the fields happen to be a little bit weaker. Look, he's one of those guys on the long courses. He's really challenged, really tough for him to compete on the 7,500-yard courses and stuff. But if right here, wheelhouse for him. And he is the number 2 guy on the DraftKings board. Dipping down into the 9s, Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover is the highest ranked guy in this field, maybe the best golfer in this field, certainly from over the summer. There were about 5 or 6 guys on DraftKings priced ahead of him. I don't know what's going on there, but at $9,500, he seems a steal, presuming that his his magical putter is still magical. Moving down, Ben Griffin, 9,300. Ben Griffin blew the Sanderson Farms a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully he's over that hangover. He blew the Bermuda last year. He had the lead and got overtaken by Seamus Power. Sometimes, one time, this is going to come through for Ben Griffin. I like him. 8,800, Mark Hubbard, great approach player like we've discussed, so important this week. 70 in the 7,000s. This guy maybe has the hottest seat in golf this side of Commissioner Jay Monahan. CT Pan sits at 125th in the point standings. He's got to really put on the gas pedal through the last 2 weeks of the year. And in the 6,000s, I'm going to turn back the clock like we all did last weekend. Jason Duffner, $6,800. On a shorter course, in a weaker field, he can still compete. And by compete, I say make the cut. If you need a 6 to make the cut, 6,300, Andrew Landry, I think he can make the cut, even though he's fallen on some really hard times.
Now, when you said turn back the clock, I thought in the 6,000 range, you were going to go to Brian Gay. He's played there 4 times. He's won. He's never finished outside the top 12. He's been really good on the Champions Tour lately. You're not throwing him any love in the 6K range?
He was in there until a couple other guys made it to the final cut, and he was there. And I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like too many times I've picked Brian Gay, and it's been like, Lucy holding the football for Charlie Brown. And this time he's going to get the kick it. And it just never works out for me with Brian Gay. So you may very well be right.
I alluded to this earlier, and I want to pick your brain for a second. And I know a lot of the listeners would appreciate this, but when you're going through and you're handicapping an event such as this, where Bermuda grass plays such a predominant role, the agronomy is such a factor in what's happening over there, because the place is wall-to-wall Bermuda, right? The greens, everything, the rough, the grain, the fairways, all that's going on over there. How much of a factor does that play when you're picking out these names, when you're picking out Lucas Glover, Brendan Todd, or, any of the other guys, Ben Griffin, the ones that you mentioned, Mark Hubbard? How much of a factor is the agronomy for you when it comes to DFS plays?
It is a factor, but candidly, it's not as much of a factor as some of the other things that I discussed. Just last week, we were talking about Paspalum greens. Well, if you look for guys who do well on Paspalum, there are like 3 tournaments a year on Paspalum. So it's really hard to get a read on that. Bermuda, obviously more so. but it is a factor. But really, I think the better golfers are going to play better most places. That's what makes them the better golfers. So, but I think it is fitting that in Bermuda, the whole course is Bermuda grass.
They should be playing in Bermuda shorts. Now, you mentioned my favorite at the top of the board. From a betting perspective, I'm all over Brendan Todd. You can't give me a reason why we can't, right? This golf course is a perfect match for him. He has great tournament success there. And the last time he teamed up at the Fortinet, he finished sixth, and he really blew away the field with the putter. And the guy's just a really, really good, solid wedge player. He hits the fairway, he hits the greens, he makes the putts, and he converts. He's great at par four scoring, birdie or better percentage in situations like this. The guy can score in unlimited fashion. A little bit further down the board, there was a guy last week that I really liked, Taylor Pendrith, and he started slow. Had an even par round on Thursday, and then from there, in the last 54 holes, he shot 18 under par. This is the type of guy with his power and the way he's been striking the ball lately. He can use whatever club he wants off the tee. As you mentioned, he doesn't even need a driver there. He's so long. He's played there once before, finished fifth a couple years ago. Taylor Pendrith is somebody I have my eye on. He's definitely filling the cup up right now. And if you want to go lower down the board, another guy that I like is Justin Lower. Guy was 23rd in Mexico. He's right around that 70 range, plus 7,000, 70 to 1. So he's definitely in this field further down the board in order to maybe get some value out of the board. Great putter, great wedge player. He's played twice before at Bermuda. He's coming 17th. He's coming 8th. Those are three names for me. Everybody heard Len's names. This golf course, it's very unique, Len. Well, give me one last thought about why you love the Butterfield.
Well, I don't know if I love the Butterfield, but what I do, I like the golf courses when they're more like chess matches, as opposed to just hit it as far as you can. And if it goes in the rough, it doesn't matter because you can wedge your way out of there. The grip it and rip it, the bomb and gouge, whatever you want to call it. I really like a thinking man's golf course, and they're going to have to do a lot of thinking with dog legs, angles, and then you throw in the wind. So that element of golf seems a lot more fun to watch for me than just guys just hitting it as far as they can.
I agree with you. 11 holes with elevation changes, the wind, the weather, all of these elements, and a field of 132 where truly, if Brian Gay is a factor, then pretty much anybody could win there. And to me, that makes it the most entertaining. Speaking of full fields, we only have 2 left. We'll see you all next week on the Rundown when I'm live at Sea Island and Len is right there in his studio when we're going through the RSM Classic, which is the last chance to get in that first 10 or, more importantly, earn your tour card for the top 125. Thanks for watching the Rundown. Len and we will see you in a week.